Kevin Gordon here from Autosavant, coming to you from the 2013 Lexus ES300h, or Lexus 300 Hybrid Edition. A new hybrid addition to the Lexus lineup for 2013. The ES actually now rides on the Toyota Avalon platform, so it's a bit larger than the Camry, and it's one of those things that I know I've caught myself saying in the past, which is, oh, it's the Lexus version of the Camry, and that is no longer true. The Avalon platform is quite a bit bigger and results in a really monstrous rear seat in this car. I gotta tell you, you're right, this thing is spacious back here. The hybrid version of the ES is really extremely similar to the normal ES350, with the exception, of course, of Toyota's pretty common 2.5 liter 4-cylinder Atkinson cycle engine connected to their dual electric motor hybrid setup, powering a continuously variable, or CVT, transmission. To get it right out of the way, it is the most likely best hybrid system that you can buy on the market. It's transparent, it works as expected, it's a car that I don't find myself fiddling with. You don't really want for more out of it. Is it exciting? No, it's pretty much as far as you can get from exciting in a car and from a drivetrain, but it does everything you'd expect in regards to getting you from point A to point B, all while returning what really is sort of a ridiculous city EPA number of 40 miles to the gallon for something that weighs almost 2 tons and has such enormously large rear seats. I mean, to give you an idea, there's more rear seat legroom in this car than there is in a short wheelbase 7 Series. This car is actually now longer than the GS Lexus is. It's still shorter than the short wheelbase LS, but it is a big car to get 40 miles to the gallon. This particular ES Hybrid, well, let me back up a little bit. The ES Hybrid does have a base sticker price of under $39,000 without destination. With destination, it's just under 40. I will tell you, you'll almost never, and by almost never, I mean really, really rarely, find an utterly base Lexus in their dealer room, dealer lots or showrooms. Almost all of them come with at least one of the premium packages. This one has, I think, Premium Package 1. It also has their navigation system, things like a heated steering wheel, rear power sunshade, a few other options, which gets you to $46,000 with delivery fees included again. So it's not a little amount of money, but it is quite a bit of content. Like I said, from an enthusiast perspective, it can sort of be a torturous thing to think of nice things to say about a car like this. And it may also seem slightly insane to say that $46,000 is good value for money. But when you really think about the size of car you're getting, the amount of content that you're getting, the Lexus, impeccable type craftsmanship in manufacturing, the fact that this thing's whisper quiet, really you do get quite a lot for your dollar when you really get down to it. The other thing you get is a car that I challenge you off the top of your mind to think of, one that has a competitor. What is the natural competitor to the Lexus ES300h? And I'll give you a second. The only one I could actually come up with is the Lincoln MKZ, which is, of course, the Ford Fusion Lincoln version that's available as a hybrid. Just to walk a little bit more through the powertrain details of this car. So the 2.5 liter Atkinson cycle engine makes 156 horsepower. The one electric motor that's also connected sort of directly to the engine is there to start the car. It actually also operates as the starter, as well as to charge the batteries that are in the rear, which are 34 nickel hydride batteries, so not lithium ions. They're sort of the heavier, simpler versions of batteries. And that adds up to 1.6 kilowatt hours of power. The electric motor, that's the second electric motor that's under the hood, is good for 141 horsepower and 199 foot-pounds of torque. Now, what's interesting about this car is if you go look at Lexus's website, they rate a total horsepower number of 200, but they don't actually rate a torque number. And that's because obviously there's a bit of magic going on between the electric thrust providing motor and the gasoline engine and the CVT, where, you know, they're using the electric motor's torque at different places. And you'd have to guess that there's probably about 200 foot-pounds of torque available as you go sort of throughout the acceleration range. But again, the thing you notice, or don't notice, I guess depending on how you want to say it, is the fact that there's all that stuff going on, and the Toyota Synergy Drive hybrid system really does make it all as transparent as humanly possible, at least to date, to the driver. I mean, really, between the engine kicking on and off, which is happening multiple times a minute if you're sort of in windy roads like we are, or in stop-and-go traffic, all that stuff is a sort of amazingly absent as far as it doing anything to a ride quality or noise and harshness and vibration perspective. The only time you're really going to notice the fact that you're driving a hybrid car, and, you know, you even might need to pay attention a bit for that, is in the final sort of stage of braking. And that's because, of course, as you brake, it starts to go into a full regenerative charge mode. But then as you come to a complete stop, there still is that hybrid-like extra little push that needs to be put on the pedal to get to a complete stop. But one of those things, if you live with the car for more than a couple days, just sort of goes to the back of your mind and you stop thinking about it altogether. From a looks perspective, a lot of people say that this car looks very similar to the Avalon, and I don't actually think that's true. I do think it looks a bit more Camry-like, of course, with the front spindle grille, and in the hybrid version with some additional badging, bespoke 17-inch wheels. You can't get 18s on the hybrid, of course, and, you know, those, of course, surrounded by low rolling resistance tires that are a bit hard. The one thing that you may note in this car is the only sort of adverse, I guess you could call it, road noise comes from the tires over expansion joints or in rougher surfaces. We've been driving around so far on little back roads in, you know, state parks, which are well paved, and as a result, it is whisper quiet in here. Where things start to fall apart a bit is in the interior. You know, the above sort of the beltline dashboard stuff is really quite nice, and this one, it's got, you know, the extra wood bamboo, which is renewable, steering wheel, which is really quite nice. This stuff is all very pretty, but the moment you sort of get below this line, it really does look pretty bland, and like all this stuff that's in the center console's hard plastic, it leads to really a less than premium feel if the lower half of the interior of the car starts to, you know, is where your eyes are drawn. This one, because I think actually it's a light colored interior car, means that sort of the black of the dash and the wood all looks very handsome, and then this stuff really does look pretty cheap, in all honesty. The cars that I've seen that have the black inside, it's really not as noticeable, and I think the black that winds up below the belt line feels a bit more premium for a car that's as expensive as this is, and sort of meets better with the Lexus-like expectations of it. We'll be doing a second video about the infotainment system, a bit more about the actual hybrid drive system and the normal and sport mode, so take a look on our channel for those. But, you know, wrapping this thing up, again, if you just sort of look at it from the outside, when I first got it, I was really like, And this thing is an enormous amount of money, but when you really start to think about what you're getting for your dollar, and the fact that you do get the premium-like Lexus ownership experience, which I know may sound very salesy from my perspective, right? It sounds like, well, he's totally been bought off, but that's really not the case. Because I know my local Toyota dealership is really a less than pleasant experience to go take a car and get serviced and all those types of things, where my local Lexus dealer really is a much larger step up in quality of interaction, and the service department's nicer, so you do get all of that for a couple more bucks. And the final point that I'll leave you with about the ES300H is, while it might not be as engaging as the ES350, it is one of the quickest cars to pay off buying the hybrid. This car, if you say gas is $4 a gallon, pays off in 720 gallons of gas, or $28.80 is the premium to get into the hybrid version of the car. And because the hybrid system does a good job, you really don't pay an enormous penalty, even though the 3.5 liter V6 that's in the ES350 is a bit more entertaining. So with that, Kevin Gordon for Autosavant. I look forward to talking to you guys soon.